Hello and welcome. This is James from the DSO Imager channel. Today I thought I'd show some reprocessed images that I've been working on over the past few weeks. The weather here in central Texas is very unstable in the spring, and so we've not had a lot of clear nights. And naturally that leads me to reprocess images. Over the past year I've learned a lot about astrophotography, and I feel like I've improved my processing skill from where it was a year ago. And also in that time we've had a lot of software come out that's also had a dramatic impact, specifically programs like BlurXterminator. So we're going to go through a few images that I have here. I'll show the before and after, or the original processing and the reprocess, and kind of discuss the impacts that the software is having, and also where I've made changes in my processing, and even stylistic changes. Alright, so let's start with NGC 4725. This is a spiral galaxy near Coma, the constellation Coma. The one on the right is the first attempt, my original processing of the image. This is about a year ago or so. And on the left is the reprocess. Now, right away, you're seeing a difference in the color. The galaxy on the right is far more blue. Part of this was my lack of understanding what the actual colors were. And I was, in my mind, I was thinking that most spiral galaxies were had a lot of blue in them, which of course is wrong. And when I process this image, I really emphasized the blue too much, and you're seeing that here. And the other thing that I think that put me towards this blue bias that you're seeing in that image is also struggles with accurate color calibration. So that is one of the things that has helped, is that we have a new color calibration tool in PixInsight, and it's this one, Spectrophotometric Color Calibration, or SPCC for short. And this tool does a great job of using data from NASA satellite, the Gaia space telescope, to calibrate the colors. It's looking at the colors of the stars, and then it's using that to adjust the white balance on your image. And yeah, this has helped me get more accurate colors. The next difference here is the stars. That is really a combination of BlurXterminator, using it for an AI driven deconvolution process, and also just my own processing of the stars. So what I've been doing, and this may change because my techniques are always changing, but what I've been doing is pulling the stars out while the RGB image is still linear. So the procedure is to combine RGB together into the RGB image and run dynamic background extraction, and then run color calibration, and then run BlurXterminator, and then pull the stars off. Now let's take a closer look at the galaxy here. And yeah, I mean, big difference here. Now, the one on the right, I did run deconvolution manually, and one of the problems that you had with deconvolution, if you pushed it too much, is it would develop these rings around the stars. So that was always a challenge with deconvolution, and sometimes I would push it enough and just accept that in some of these tighter areas you're going to get these faint rings around the stars, and you know, they wouldn't be too noticeable unless you pixel peep. The nice thing about BlurXterminator, I'll pull it up here, is that it'll have an automatic PSF option, and this really helps when you have many stars of different sizes. And so one of the biggest benefits from BlurXterminator is the way it handles the deconvolution, and really you avoid getting these circles around the stars. Now I got better definition in these dust lanes near the core. I mean, it's the same data. The data is completely the same. It is interesting how much better, how much more I can get out of the data using BlurXterminator and also improved processing techniques. You see how it's all washed out on these outer bands? I'm certain that was my processing. The use of masks and probably a combination of a use of mask and maybe not a as ideal dynamic background extraction. Alright, let's move on to the next one, M74. Now, what you're seeing here, it's not exactly an apples to apples comparison. The left is the reprocessed, the right is the original. Now, I do have some HA data. It's only a couple of hours worth, and I did use the HA on the original. I opted not to use the HA on the reprocess. So let's actually zoom out. So just like with the other image, stars are much better this time around, and color of the galaxy is much better. I mean, it doesn't even look like the same the same galaxy. So again, we have the benefits of using BlurXterminator. The core and the dust lanes are much better defined. You're getting a lot more detail. We have a much better use of color calibration and color adjustment. The colors on the right there there's too much purple. Some of that might be the HA that was added to it, but I think more of it has to do with the color calibration and my inability to manage it well. This picture I think is a couple years old, so I mean I got 2 years worth of processing experience, which certainly has helped. And again, the stars, huge difference in the stars. So yeah, I think this is good progress. I think the total image is about 18 hours. I was never satisfied with how this came out, and I in fact reprocessed it like a year ago, and I wasn't too thrilled about that reprocess, and I don't believe I've ever showed anyone that shot or shared it out. But this reprocess I did recently, I think looks pretty good. Alrighty, next up is M106, and kind of a similar deal here. I have a lot of HA data for M106, and you can see originally I used it, and you know we've got this really cool HA structure popping up here. I've had trouble getting this HA data to look right with the reprocessed data. I'm not giving up. I'm going to try to get it in there, but at least for this reprocess, I decided to keep it just LRGB. Let's zoom out again. Yeah, so just like last time, we have much better stars. We can see more stars in this and more color in those stars. So I don't really know what happened last time I processed this, but there's like almost no color in these stars. Not sure how how that happened. My view on stars is shifting a little bit. So stars, when I started out, was an area that I struggled so much with. The stars I always felt were bloated, the colors were weird on them, and over time I've learned how to manage that. And then we had a program in Pickering site called StarNet++, which introduced the opportunity of removing stars and processing them separately. And there were some improvements, and then RC-Astro came out with BlurXterminator, which did a really good job, and that's what I use for star removal now. But my views were to try to make the stars as small as possible and to even reduce the number of stars visible. And so I felt like the stars are taken away from the object that I want to look at. But now my view on the stars is shifting a little bit, and I'm coming to appreciate rich star fields. And I still like them really tight, but my techniques and how I'm bringing the stars out are changing. Now I'll go into that a little bit more with the needle, because the needle galaxy, which is the next one I'm going to show, marks a change in how I'm handling the stars. Alright, so again, same data. I mean, this reprocess, honestly, I think it's a little soupy, I don't know, a little mushy. I think the data that I have to work with had some issues. I don't think the seeing was very good when I was collecting a lot of this data, and so that certainly is hurt. But still, we can see how much more we have here. I remember when processing this image that I was able to see some of this in the luminance channel, and somehow with the channel combination and the processing, I lost all that data. Somehow it got damaged. I think maybe the masks weren't good. Again, I think dynamic background extraction wasn't as good. My application of it wasn't as good. And then of course this color is all wrong. So the color combination color calibration didn't help either, and so I just lost a lot of detail. So I was happy to see that I could actually bring it up. You don't see this too clearly in a lot of shots of M106. Yeah, so overall, an improvement for sure. Alright, let's pull up that needle. Now, I was actually a little skeptical about reprocessing this image because I felt like my original image was pretty darn good. And I definitely think this is stood up. Now, it is, of this collection of images I have, it is the most recent one. So, I mean, that makes sense that my skills continue to improve, and this is with regular deconvolution. And then, of course, this is with BlurXterminator handling the deconvolution. And I mean, we're a little bit clearer, but you know, I think the two are not too different from each other. What really sets these apart are the stars. Now, in BlurXterminator, you have a couple of options. And this non-stellar, then stellar, what this means is that it's going to apply deconvolution to the non-star objects, like the galaxy, and then apply it to the stars, which is what the stellar is. Now, the reason that this works well, this option works well in galaxies, is that by running deconvolution against a galaxy, it can actually find some stars in there that may have not been fully resolved without it. And then once it finds those stars and then works on the applying deconvolution to the stars, you're going to see stars pop out that we're missing. So I mean, again, this is the same data, and look, we have a star here and we've got a star here, and you can't really see them here. I mean, maybe that's what this little thing is here. I bet you that's what it is. And this one over here, it would be around here. So BlurXterminator is doing a really good job with the stars. Look at all these stars down here and on the edges of the galaxy. You can barely see them here. It almost looks like two different sets of data, with this one having more integration time, but it's not the case. It's the exact same data. I even got little galaxies. I mean, it's there, but you even got some color on it this time around. And then here you can see the stars here. So this is a combination of, again, BlurXterminator doing a great job running deconvolution against the stars, but also my my take on stars, my philosophy, if you will, on the stars. So like I mentioned before, previously I was wanting to not only reduce the stars in size, but reduce how many stars were visible to really give the focus on the object. And over here you can see way more stars because I process the star image to show more. Now, what I did differently here is lately what I've been doing is tossing the luminant stars and only using RGB stars and doing the processing on that. But your luminance data will show a lot more stars. And so what I did on this one is actually combine the luminant stars with the RGB stars. I kept the stars very tight, but I think it gives a really good star field for this image, and it turns out to be a really nice backdrop for it. Now, I did have to manually work some of the stars, in particular this one here. Alright, so this is one regret I always had with this image. We're obviously seeing a split of the red and blue light, right? So this is a issue with my optics. It's probably the reducer on that edge that's causing that. But yeah, it's kind of stuck out. The star was so big, and with this discoloration in the star, I felt like this star did take away from the image some. So what I did was, after I processed the stars, I made a mask, and I just pulled back on curves a lot on this star. So I mean, this star should representatively be larger than the rest of these stars, but I wanted it de-emphasized to the point that this break in color wasn't as noticeable, and so it's not. I mean, you gotta zoom in to see it. It's still there, but now when we look at this big star just kind of fades into the star field, and so I think that does help the image overall. Alright, so with it being galaxy season, and with BlurXterminator really helping with galaxies, especially the cores and the fine detail, I thought I would present all of these reprocessed galaxy images. But I did bring one nebula shot, and this is Pickering's triangle. Now, the original one I was very happy with. I considered it one of my best images, I want to say it was 2 years ago. Alright, it's right around that time that I feel like I really started to get dialed in with my processing and with that Celestron Edge 8-inch edge. So yeah, really happy with the way the image turned out. Now, you're seeing some major differences here with the reprocess. One, of course, the stars. Right, that's the common thing. Stars are far less of the image than they were before. They're all there though, just de-emphasized so that we can really appreciate the nebula. The other thing is the color of the O3. So this was still when I was attacking green and using the SCNR tool. You notice I left a little bit of the green in parts of it. I was trying to get fancy with the different colors. So with these HOO images now, my opinion is to keep the O3 close to its natural color. I mean, this teal color, this is what O3 looks like anyway. And so while it's a narrow band image using the HOO palette, I do like keeping the O3 natural. I did dial back the green a tiny little bit, but I wanted to keep it looking O3 and not have this blue color. The other difference in the image is that last time I wanted to place an emphasis on the O3 structure, and I did this at the expense of the HA. And you can really see it here. If we look in this area right here, I mean, look how hollowed out the HA looks. I mean, there's all this little structure in here, and you can see hints of it, but I didn't do a good enough job pulling it out. And so this image just, the reprocessed image just looks fuller. I mean, this is another area right here. If you look at that, all this structure in here. Right? It's like, where is it? It's amazing that this is the same data. So it really does go to show you how you can have great equipment, but it's still up to the astrophotographer to make the most out of the data that he or she has. So anyway, that's what I want to show. It's always fun going down memory lane, seeing how your processing was in the past, and then comparing it to where you're at today. certainly reprocessing old data is a good way to see the difference in the progress that you've made and the tools and techniques that are available. Alright, so with all the new software and techniques and information sharing out there, the YouTube tutorials, not just from myself, but from other great astrophotographers out there, it is really a great time to be in astrophotography. The software that I'm using, I'm using all the RC-Astro software currently, Star Exterminator, BlurXterminator, and Noise Exterminator. I know that stuff is pretty expensive, especially when you add all three, but I definitely think it's worth it. If I had to choose or rank them in value or in importance, I think I would put BlurXterminator at the top because it is so good at running that deconvolution that it really makes a difference. If you're looking for something to really kick your images up to the next level, learning how to use BlurXterminator would help a lot. I think I would probably put Noise Exterminator as number 2 and then Star Exterminator as number 3. And the only reason I would put Star Exterminator at the bottom is because you can get StarNet++ for free on PixInsight. But I still prefer the results that I get with Star Exterminator, and Star Exterminator is the one that I use for star removal and for putting the stars back on. So the whole suite's excellent, and I do feel like it's helped improve my game. It's also saved time, because running deconvolution manually has always been one of those time sinks in processing. Outside of that, SPCC for color calibration, another invaluable tool. It's really helped with the color, especially on those broadband images, and I think you're seeing the impacts of that in those reprocessed galaxies. So I've got a lot of galaxy projects currently running. It's actually supposed to be clear the next couple of nights, so I'm hoping to wrap up on 3 different targets. M106 with that 65 PHQ, and M82 with the Celestron Edge. I've gotten a ton of HA data. I think I'm up to like something ridiculous, like 80 hours of HA on M82, and I'm just trying to get enough RGB data to finish that image out, and I'm pretty close. So if we're clear the next 2 nights, I should get that one finished. And Leo triplet on the AT115 frames up really nice. I'm getting hints of that tidal stream, so I'm hoping to do a nice job with that one. So anyway, looking forward to those. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you're interested in any of these RC-Astro products, I do have affiliate links in the description of this video. If you click on those, you can get a 30-day trial, and then if you buy it, I actually get a tiny little commission as a result of that, which is pretty cool. So with that said, I'll say clear skies and have a good day.